This week we have a Right Now special. We need to talk about Midazolam. Hello and welcome to Right Now. Jacqui Deevoy has appeared on Right Now before. She's a journalist, but an actual journalist, not just someone that calls themselves a journalist with their fingers tightly crossed behind their backs. Because she has a reputation for following the truth rather than the route of least resistance, Jacqui attracts an awful lot of whistleblowers that want her to share their stories. So, after a year of researching a story and hearing countless real-life accounts, she approached 28 different mainstream media outlets to pitch what she felt was an enormous story. None of them took it. We're talking about a story of state euthanasia and a drug called Midazolam. It's a huge story. Surely the mainstream media would want to be the ones that broke it. Well, we'll have to do their jobs for them then. It certainly won't be the first time. Today we'll be hearing from Wayne, Ruth, Emma, Ravi and Celia, 5 whistleblowers that are going to tell us about their personal experiences and their campaigns for justice. We're also going to be talking to former Manchester mayoral candidate Michael Elson. We'll be talking about the now scrapped, apparently, Liverpool Care pathway, or rather the pathway to death as it was known. We'll be discussing how this barbaric policy that gave quotas and financial incentives to hospitals to place patients on end-of-life care, how it was brought back in 2020 as a coronavirus response. But first, Jacqui is joining us to blow the lid off of all of this. Hi, Jacqui.
Last summer, someone contacted me. As a freelance journalist, I get a lot of people contacting me about various stories that they might have. He said to me that his father was murdered in hospital, which was pretty shocking. Now, had I been any other journalist, I probably would have thought he was mad or distressed, in denial. You know, people can do very strange things when they're bereaved. But because I had been looking into this for some time, because I'd had lots of people coming to me about it, and I'd actually done an interview with your dad, David, in December, I took it seriously. So me and this man started, he'd been researching for a few months at that point anyway, so I started to help him look into it. And what we found out was pretty shocking. So fast forward almost a year, and we have now got a lot of evidence that what he said was actually true, not just for his father, but for a lot of other people's relatives as well, who were victims to this protocol, shall we call it. So I decided that this needed to go public. So I contacted, like I usually do, lots of editors, 28, I think, initially. I've done a few more since. And after I sent that email out, the emails out to the 28 editors, I woke up the next morning thinking, oh my God, my inbox is going to be absolutely flooded, you know.
Yeah, that's what you'd
replies.
expect.
Yeah. So I was really shocked to find not one single reply. But that's quite unusual, because some of the editors were editors that I work with on a regular basis anyway. So to have them ignore me was quite unusual. So that really kind of jarred with me. I thought there's something going on here, because that's strange. A couple of days later, I got a reply from one editor to tell me he wasn't in that week. Then I got another reply from another editor saying she'd passed it on to someone else. And that was about it for the next few days. And that said a lot to me, because I've never been blanked so broadly before. So what I'd actually pitched to them was a story backed up with a lot of evidence that the elderly were being killed in hospitals, care homes and hospices, being put on end-of-life care before they needed to be. shall we say. And I spoke to probably around 50 people who'd experienced this firsthand, or their relatives were victims. And I found 16 who were willing to speak to the papers and to go public, and also come on shows like this. So that's where I am with it. I know we haven't got much time today, so I don't want to spend too much going on about it, but we have so much evidence now. We've got documents from the House of Commons. We've got documents to prove that Midazolam was ordered last March by Matt Hancock to treat COVID patients. How Midazolam can treat COVID patients, I do not know, because COVID is allegedly a respiratory disease, and Midazolam works by suppressing the respiratory system, leading to death. The more Midazolam you give, the more likely the person is to die. It's used in America as an execution drug, in a huge amount, obviously, just to make sure, but you know, it's a horrible, horrible way to go. I've got evidence that Midazolam was given to unconscious patients, people who'd had one jab, fell unconscious, and then while they were unconscious was still being administered it. Why? That doesn't make any sense. There's so many stories, as you know, and we're going to hear some of them today, this evening. So it's really so upsetting. And another upsetting thing, while I was researching it, it slowly dawned on me that that's what happened to my mum 12 years ago. Her anniversary was yesterday. She died the day before my birthday, because it's my birthday today. And I woke up this morning thinking about birthdays and death days. And I was thinking, all these people that were euthanized, they should be celebrating birthdays too. And, you know, that's not going to happen.
No, thanks so much for this, Jacqui. I really appreciate it. And obviously you've put us in contact with so many different people. I've had lots of conversations with people, including obviously the person that came to you first, who's obviously not coming on the show, it's staggering, the levels of it. But also, like you said, the proof, it's there in black and white. And you know, people can dismiss this as much as they want, but it's right there. And obviously it's something that, you know, we're looking at, and a lawyer called Claire is looking into it really like in depth, in terms of the amount of this drug that was administered compared to other years. And like we're looking at exact figures, it's insane. It's on average around about 100,000 more doses on average per month than before the pandemic. And the excuse is that it's being used in terms of operations, so it's used, you know, as part of the anaesthetic. There haven't been any operations.
There haven't been operations. Yeah, exactly.
So it just exactly. So where is this drug going? Obviously, thanks to yourself and others, we know exactly where that drug's going. Well,
yeah, and Claire's been on board since last year as well. You know, in fact, she's been so busy. I think the last phone conversation I had with her was last August. So she's, but I know she's been beavering away in the background, as we all have. And we're all coming to the same conclusions. And Matt Hancock and co, and the four horsemen of the apocalypse, as a lot of people call them, they need to answer some questions now, because they've got blood on their hands. They really, really have.
Absolutely, they have.
More apparent by the day.
Yeah, and I would urge people that are watching this from different countries, have a look at your own public health systems, because I guarantee that Midazolam is not just an English thing. No chance.
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Yeah, it's. I think it is happening worldwide. I haven't been able to look into it worldwide. I've only looked into it in the UK, but it's a lot of the people who are going to be speaking on the show today are really nervous about doing it, but they know they have to do it because, you know, it can't carry on.
No, absolutely not, and we mustn't let them get away with it. Thank you, Jacqui. We really appreciate it, and have a lovely birthday as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. We were joined yesterday by a lady called Celia who told us about what had happened to her partner. Hello Celia, thank you very much for talking to us. With your story and, about your partner and the NHS, we're going to go all the way back to 2017, that's right, isn't it?
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, Brian wasn't that well. He had COPD, but he was fine with that. And he had pains in the ribs, so he had a CT scan on the 25th of August, 2017, and the result came back that there's no sign of any cancer. You may have got a hiatus hernia, and we'll refer you to the gastroenterologist. But by the 16th of September, he'd got low saturations, and so he lasted like that for about 2 days, and then I called an ambulance, and he was admitted to the Royal Gwent Hospital in, am I allowed to say what hospital?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, he was admitted to the Royal Gwent Hospital, it's all in the public domain anyway, on the 18th of September with a diagnosis of low sodium and a chest infection. And he was given antibiotics and oxygen, and he was there a week, and then I got summoned into the office, and I was accused of causing his low sodium by giving him unprescribed furosemide, which was totally ridiculous because they'd given it to him, and it was prescribed. And in fact, Brian hadn't even taken it as prescribed. He'd taken far less. And the cardiologist confirmed this later, much later, sadly too late. So I was given restricted visiting, and the next day I was allowed in for an hour. I wasn't supposed to go in on a Wednesday, which was the 27th. And that was the day that he was given a medication in error, and he was dead within 90 minutes. He'd been walking around the ward. He was better from the point of view of, his chest infection. He wasn't on oxygen. They'd taken his clothes and they'd taken his shoes, so he couldn't leave the hospital. And this illegal dolls had been put on him on the 26th, but nobody knew about it, so nobody could appeal it. And the Ombudsman in Wales has upheld all my complaints. They said that the dolls was incorrectly, illegally implemented. It violated the dolls policy, and it wasn't done according to the Mental Capacity Act. And they also held that they violated the visiting, and that violated human rights. The Ombudsman had the capacity and was able to find out all these things because they got the actual notes and they were able to research. But it took until December 2019 for the Ombudsman to report on all this. It took them 18 months. And there was a post-mortem, and that showed a tumour the size of a tennis ball in his esophagus, which was really the cause of the low sodium. And there's still things that, in my opinion, haven't been done. There was a do not resuscitate order, and that was saying he was confused with no relatives. I only found this looking in the notes 10 months after he was dead. I found out everything then, but it was shocking to see all the falsified notes. The dolls form was falsified information, no phone numbers, said he didn't have any relatives. It was almost like he didn't exist. Nobody could help him.
So this is staggering to me. So where does it stand now? Is there anything you can do? Is there any way you can hold these people accountable?
Well, I've made a complaint to the police about the falsified dolls form, and I think he was neglected because when he was in hospital, he was dehydrated, very dehydrated. This dehydration was apparently meant to be treatment, but it was, he was on something like 750 mils of fluid a day, or 500. The day he died, he had less than 400. And I actually watched a nurse throw away his water. It was just shocking. He lost 2.5 kilograms in weight in 5 days. His food was put out of reach, and he was denied visitors in the last 2-3 days of his life, which is horrible, shocking. I mean, nobody gets treated like that, but he was.
It's outrageous, and I just hope that there is something that you can do going forward, whether it be an inquest or something, to try and, you know, hold some people accountable.
I'm hoping to get an inquest, because I haven't seen a doctor since he died, and that's really not right. I mean, I was a nurse, and the people I saw the night he died, one was not even qualified, and the other one had just qualified, and they looked so frightened, and they were kind of like very uneasy and you know, perspiring heavily. It was just very shocking. I've never encountered anything like that in 30 years of working in a hospital. If
we could keep in touch, if you don't mind, and let us know if anything moves forward with that inquest, because we'd love to talk about it if indeed this does happen. And I just want to say thank you very much as well for telling us your story, and I sincerely hope that some justice can be meted out.
Well, thank you for letting me speak, because so many injustices go unnoticed, and people very often are too shocked to do anything about it, and they just go away, and I just wonder how these people are. But I just feel that, you know, it has to be safer for other people out there, because, you know, Brian can't be safe, but other people could be.
Absolutely, and that's what this whole awareness is about. So thank you again, and like I say, please keep in touch.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, goodbye.